All right, thank you so much for the introduction, Joseph. Thank you all for being here today. It's wonderful to see you. My name is Anthony Miller. I am an alumni of the program. So I competed my senior year of high school, and then I have been a coach and a coordinator helping to organize the program in the state of Nevada for the last decade. And this is my first year as a judge at the national tournament. So I'm really excited to be here and really excited to hear what you guys have to show us today. Thank you so much for your time. Andy and Susan, please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Arnett. I'm a criminal defense lawyer in Honolulu, just retired from the public defender's office, and I also teach at the law school at the University of Hawaii. And this is my second time as a national judge, the first time being some time ago when we were all in the same room.
Hi, I'm Andy Levy. I'm a trial lawyer in Baltimore, Maryland, not that far from Gretchen. It looks like you're at the White House in the Rose Garden there. So we're within stone's throw of each other.
Come on over.
I'm sorry?
Come on over.
Yeah. And I teach at both of Maryland's law schools, the University of Maryland and the University of Baltimore.
Right. And if the students, you guys would please introduce yourselves and your teacher for us.
Good afternoon from Washington, judges. My name is Sanvi Mehrotra, and my favorite American government leader is Representative Pramila Jayapal, as she's the first South Asian woman to preside over the House and represents our home state of Washington.
Hello, judges. My name is Quinn Kelly, and my favorite American government leader is President Theodore Roosevelt for his foreign policy philosophy.
Hello, judges. My name is Eliza Brooks, and my favorite American government leader is Chief Justice Earl Warren for his fight for equality. And on behalf of Unit 4, Tahoma High School, our advisor, Gretchen Wolfing, and the state of Washington, I thank you for judging us today.
Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm sure you guys have heard this question 1,000 times by now, but we're going to go ahead and read it out one time for the recording. And as soon as I finish, you may begin as soon as you're ready, and the time will start when you begin speaking, okay? It would be inconsistent with the constitutional separation of the executive and legislative powers to let the prerogative, pardon power, be exercised by the latter. What were the framers' reasons for giving the president the pardon power, and do you agree or disagree with them? According to the framer James Wilson, if the president abuses the pardon power, he can be impeached and prosecuted. Do you agree with Wilson? Why or why not? In your opinion, what constitutes high crimes and misdemeanors? You may begin when ready.
Impeachment is necessary to provide the Constitution for the regular punishment of the executive when its misconduct should deserve it. Benjamin Franklin.
The framers gave the president the power to pardon, enumerated in the U.S. Constitution in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, in order to place a powerful check on the judicial branch that could be exercised energetically.
In Federalist Paper 74, Alexander Hamilton details the power to pardon as a tool to restore the tranquility of the Commonwealth. We too believe the power to pardon to be an essential aspect of our federal government.
Furthermore, the executive branch is the only branch fit to possess the power to pardon because, as framer Rufus King declared, a legislative body is utterly unfit for the purpose of pardons.
The advantages of the power to pardon is its ability to restore peace after insurrections or rebellions. The quick issuing of pardons would be nearly impossible for Congress, given its legislative deliberative nature. The extended time between the crime and pardon could lead to negative effects, such as unnecessary prosecution and punishment.
One instance of the intended use of the pardon power occurred immediately following the War of 1812, when President James Madison pardoned insurgents linked to the island of Barataria.
Additionally, we believe that the executive branch's structure is well suited to the power to pardon. Federalist Paper 70 argues that executive powers, including the power to pardon, are most applicable in a single hand. The framers gave the president the power to pardon in order to limit the judicial branch in a prompt manner, a decision we believe to have been incredibly beneficial to our nation.
Agree with James Wilson and believe the abuse of the power to pardon to be an impeachable offense. When a president takes the oath of office, they swear to faithfully execute the office and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
This indicates that an abuse of presidential power, including the power to pardon, is a failure to uphold the oath and is subsequently an impeachable offense. We consider the pardon power to be abused when it is not used in a manner that corrects an evident flaw in the judicial system or furthers the nation's well-being.
An example of such abuse was President Bill Clinton's pardon to Mark Rich, a notorious tax evader, perhaps influenced by the large donation Rich's wife made both to the Democratic Party and the Clinton Foundation. The only constitutional check on abuse of the pardon power is impeachment.
As stated by Hamilton in Federalist Paper 66, powers relating to impeachments are an essential check upon the encroachments of the executive. Therefore, if a president abuses his power to pardon, he should be prosecuted.
In our opinions, high crimes and misdemeanors are actions or behaviors unfit of the public trust placed in the individual holding the office to which they were appointed.
At the second impeachment trial for President Donald Trump, head lawyer Bruce Castor stated, "A high crime is a felony and a misdemeanor is a misdemeanor. The words haven't changed that much over time."
However, this statement is contradictory with the origin of high crimes and misdemeanor, as well as historical applications. The term of art, high crimes and misdemeanors, was first used in England in 1386 in a trial against the Earl of Suffolk.
Centuries later, the same definition for high crimes and misdemeanors was used in the 1774 impeachment of Chief Justice Peter Oliver in the American colonies for the offense of accepting a royal salary, seen as a betrayal of his American position of trust. The phrase was then chosen by the framers to describe impeachable offenses in Article 2, Section 4, Clause 2.
Impeachment must be a political proceeding, with politicians judging other politicians on legal, conditional, and moral grounds.
As stated by Yale law professor Akhil Reedamar, a president might be unfit to govern even if his misconduct was not an ordinary crime.
This emphasizes the difference between trials of impeachment and criminal trials, as impeachment trials do not follow the court standard. Therefore, a president's behavior need not be technically illegal for their impeachment.
The power to pardon is an essential aspect of our federal government and a significant tool when used appropriately. However, because of the vast potential for abuse, Congress must be willing to impeach presidents who abuse the pardon power. Thank you.
Okay, that was a wonderful opening statement. Thank you so much. You seem to be strongly in favor of the limitation on pardon power being the ability for Congress to impeach. And I want to press you on that a little bit and get you guys to support that a little bit more, or perhaps back down or change your opinion a little bit. Impeachment has happened numerous times throughout American history, but a president's never been convicted and removed from office. And many people argue that the pardon power has been abused many times throughout history. So it is a reasonable argument to make, whether you agree or disagree with it, it's up to you, that even though there is this system in place, it hasn't been effectively used. Does that mean that perhaps there is an argument to change this? And if so, if not, great, but if so, what should we put in place? What would you propose as a way to ensure that the pardon power isn't being abused?
Although his president has never been convicted, according to Article 1, Section 3, have been impeached according to Article 1, Section 2. Impeachment, while it does not lead to punishment, can still change people's opinions of the president. This can be seen in the impeachment of President Bill Clinton, when after impeached, he lost an election. According to Pew Research, the main reason voters stated for voting for President Bush was his integrity.
I believe that the pardon power is almost impossible to prove for abuse. And the reason for this is that abuse of the pardon power is subjective. There has never been what is actually defined as an abuse of the pardon power any time in American history. The definition changes from time to time. And as President Gerald Ford stated, an impeachable offense is whatever the House of Representatives at the time considers it to be.
Add a restriction on the pardon power, I'd like to propose that it should be a crime for the president and the grantee of the pardon to engage in a bribery scheme. And this was seen when President George H.W. Bush pardoned Armand Hammer. And this perhaps was influenced by Armand Hammer's $110,000 donation to the Republican Party.
Doesn't that introduce, isn't the whole idea of pardon it's a check on the judiciary. If you then make the manner of exercise a crime, or potentially a crime, doesn't that then allow the judiciary to sort of one-up on the branch that was supposed to be a check on it?
I would agree with that statement, and I believe a different check on the pardon power that could be implemented according to the amendment process in Article 5 would be to have all pardons made in the last 3 months of presidency be having to be reviewed by the next president. This would make controversial pardons, which often occur in the last days or week of presidency, to be either removed by the next president or sustained if they were actual legitimate pardons.
I agree that that may occur, but this could be remedied by another potential solution, which is have presidents publish the legal justification for the pardons that they choose to issue. And this would ensure that not only is the check by those around the president, but also there's a public perception check. And it would ensure that those who can look into the pardon would definitely learn.
Let me ask, I'm sorry, Joe, Anthony, let me just follow up on Quinn's. Would that require a constitutional amendment, or could Congress' existing Article 1 power, would it be sufficient to sort of regulate in some way the manner in which the pardons are exercised?
It was established in the United States v. Klein that the legislative has no more power over pardons than the president does over existing legislation. So I believe that it would have to be a constitutional amendment.
I disagree with my colleague. I believe the powers granted in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, also known as the necessary and proper clause, could be utilized to simply pass a law instead of amendment.
You know, I'm intrigued by your suggested limitation that, or one of the checks, that anything issued by one president in the last 3 months of his term be reviewed by the next president. But I'm wondering if the next president is of a different party and, you know, not of the same political philosophy as the president he is replacing or she is replacing. Is it possible that that would turn out not to be a check on the pardon power, but just the exercise of one side, the victorious side over the other, such as, you know, sort of Supreme Court appointments has become? And if you agree with that statement that I just made, do you see any other way that we could provide without getting embroiled in the political divisiveness that currently grips our country and has for so long?
President Thomas Jefferson once stated that when the federal government fears the people, there is liberty. But when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. If the pardons were publicized and then the media captured the pardons, then it could be likely that the next president would be afraid to revoke actual pardons, especially if the pardons had testimonials on how they changed the people's lives, because they would lose public opinion. And part of the reason the president has become such a powerful branch is because of the people.
I agree with you that presidents would get embroiled in political issues if their incoming president, outgoing president, were of opposing political parties. However, that's the whole point. When the outgoing president is pardoning, they're pardoning people simply because they can, right? And often for political reasons, such as Donald Trump's pardon of Lil Wayne. And basically, this means that presidents wouldn't be issuing pardons based upon political reasons. They would be doing it to correct the well-being of the nation, which can generally be agreed upon, or correcting evident flaw in the use of the system.
But isn't one man's or one woman's political motive someone else's, you know, for the well-being of the country? I mean, the president is a political office. They are political animals. Everything they do in one way or another is political. I'm just not sure the distinction that you're trying to draw.
So basically what would occur is President Donald Trump commuted the sentence of Roger Stone and also pardoned Michael Flynn, two people which were closely associated with the investigation into Russia and his dealings with Russia during his first impeachment trial. And so I think that pardons like that would definitely be drawn, but I think that there would have to be further discussion and discussion between representatives to what that would actually determine.
It should also be noted that the limit would only apply to the last 3 years of office, so pardons made before that would stand as currently it stands.
I would just like to very briefly, I know we only have like 20 seconds left. You guys said that you would like to see a situation in which presidents would publish their legal justification for giving a pardon. Does a president have to have a legal justification to pardon somebody? Can they just do it because any reason they want?
presidents do not have to have a legal justification for pardoning someone. There usually is the
Go ahead and continue.
attorney of pardons office in which they vet pardons, but presidents such as President Donald Trump bypass the office and pardon purely arbitrarily.
Okay, thank you. That was wonderful. Congratulations on a job very, very well done. I'm just finishing up a couple of notes here. Okay. I am thoroughly impressed with your entire presentation, the content, the argumentation style, the way you presented, and the power that you guys had. The passion and strength and confidence coming from you three young women was incredibly impressive, and I thought very moving today. This was probably the most impassioned argument I've heard all day, and I really enjoyed it. I think that you guys had lots and lots of strong supporting evidence, and you were pushed on your opinions because, to be honest, the opinions you gave were something I haven't heard throughout the entire day. Most people were much more in favor of having more limitations on pardon power, and you guys seem to really go through, especially in your 4-minute speech, really went through an explanation of why we have the pardon power and supported the pardon power far more than you argued that it was, being abused. And I love that in the follow-up, when we pushed you on that, you were able to talk about the abuses, but you did still keep with that theme that we want to keep the pardon power strong, and we want the president to have that. And you gave compelling arguments for why that is valuable. I was really impressed with all of that. I loved the examples you gave. I loved that the novel ideas you guys came up with today about the last 3 months of pardon should be reviewed by the next incoming president. That there should be legal justifications published for pardons, and I'm glad when I pushed you there at the end, you said no, that's not required, but it would be helpful. So it sounds like probably the best way to do that would be for that to become a tradition rather than being something that's required by Congress, right? So I was very impressed overall. Congratulations on a job very well done.
Yeah, before I say anything else, Quinn, work on your audio a little bit, because at least for me it was uneven, so it was sometimes hard to understand. I echo what Anthony said for all of you. I think that it was very interesting. You had a point of view, and I loved the Jefferson quote towards the end because I thought it was on point with what you were saying about I like the fact that you basically said, leave this to the people to decide. And although you didn't voice it, and you might in a future one, your 3-month limit would mean that any that the president wanted to stick, that his predecessor couldn't undo, he'd have to make before the election. So the people would have an opportunity to weigh that in deciding who to vote for. Likewise, you said that when if I understood correctly, about a new president undoing the pardons in the last 3 months, well, the press would be publicizing this, and it should be in the light of day, and people would be able to decide, and that might have a deterrent effect on strictly political decision-making by the new president. So I thought it was very interesting how you had thought this out. You all participated. And that was effective. Thank you for a well done presentation.
Before Andrew gives his comments, I would also just like to, I was reminded by Susan there, I think that you guys gave the best, most nuanced explanation of high crimes and misdemeanors, and talked about what some people have tried to define it as versus what it was historically defined as. And I was really impressed with that. That was excellent. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
There was an awful lot to be impressed about in this. But I do want to start by saying that I agree. Earl Warren was a great man, was a great justice. My favorite political or judicial figure was Justice Robert Jackson, who held the positions at various times of Solicitor General, Attorney General, and Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. No other person has ever held all 3 of those offices, and he had no law degree. So, and managed to accomplish that, plus be the U.S. prosecutor at Nuremberg. But anyway, I guess I better get back to the business at hand, which is you guys were great. I thought, to me, what sticks out was the response and the question about whether Congress has any Article 1 power to cabin the Article 2 power of pardon. And I think you disagreed, which is fine. But I thought that the rejoinder about the necessary and proper clause, whoever made that, it was a really good point. But what impressed me most of all about it was I had the feeling that you had thought about this before, and that you had thought hard enough about these questions that you had sort of gotten to that stage of analysis, and you were able to sort of draw different constitutional concepts in to, I mean, it was an absolutely responsive, germane point, and I'm not sure which of you was correct, but it was absolutely, to me, what the discussion should be about. So very, very impressive. You guys, your parents, your teacher, you should be very, very proud of you. I'm sure they are, and they have good reason to be.
Thank you so much.
Good job. You're gonna do great.
Congratulations and good luck for the rest of the competition.
Thank you so much, judges, for your